Hello and welcome to Richmond TV's Community Focus. I'm your host, Jason Robbins, and we have a great show lined up for you. We have Superintendent of Richmond Community Schools, Brian Walmsley, here to talk about the school bond proposal. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Richmond TV's Community Focus. With me now is Brian Walmsley, Superintendent of Richmond Community Schools. How you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. So the Richmond Community Schools is going to be going out for bond at the November 5th election. What are some of the upgrades that are going to happen to some of the buildings? Why don't we start off with Lee Elementary?
Absolutely. The Board of Education authorized on the 12th of August to go to the voters and ask for a bond. At Lee Elementary School, there's a lot of changes. Increasing the square footage is probably the biggest change in the building. Mm-hmm. Our enrollment is up. We actually have projected to even be up even more in the next 5 years, so we're trying to accommodate for that growth. Mm-hmm. The elementary school has 3 additions that would be put on the building. One in the southeast wing, the southwest wing, and the roughly northeast wing of the building. Approximately 10 classrooms of space to accommodate for the future growth. As you know, we've moved the 4th grade to the middle school because we were running out of room. And with the addition of the 5th grade, the additional 5th section of kindergarten and first, we're down to about 1 or 2 classrooms tops that we have left. So we're needing the space. Not only the addition of the classroom, but also an expansion of the parking lot at Lee. If you've ever been to any of the functions, which I know you videotaped and have been to a lot of them, there's not enough parking.
Nope.
There is, especially in the morning when you have all the drop-off and pick-up in the afternoon. Half of the roofs are being replaced at the elementary school, which were put on in the 1996 bond, which would be the gymnasium, cafeteria, and then the kindergarten first grade wing of the building.
Now, with one of the other bonds, there was the other half the roof was fixed, right?
Yes, in the 2013 bond, we replaced part of the roof section because that was beyond the life expectancy. We're now in the sections that are well over 20 years old and almost going on 25 years. And they're due to be replaced. Yep. We have a lot of leaks and patches that we're buying time and making it work, but long term it's not good for the schools community. For sure.
So with that, you're going to also, I guess throughout all the schools, you're going to be replacing the clock system, the PA system, and all those things to make the schools safer, correct?
Absolutely. The clock system, much of the clock system is the original system that was built in some cases the 50s when the high schools was built, and the various additions. And as you add it on and the wiring, it doesn't keep the correct time. You can go into 3 different classrooms and have 3 different times.
Right.
When you do any type of renovations, the fire alarm system would have to be upgraded. We would be replacing that with the addition and tying into one brand new system for the elementary school, as well as the middle school and high school. All of them those are the same. In each of the 3 buildings are the flooring, carpet, tile. Other than storage areas, pretty much the entire building would have a new floor, new ceiling grid, energy efficient lighting. We recently, in the last bond, replaced the lighting in the auditorium to LED lighting. That has significantly reduced our energy consumption in the auditorium. So this would be a long-term budgetary savings for us to invest in the now, replacing with LED lights for ultimate savings on our energy bills.
And not just the energy bill, the LED lights last a lot longer
Absolutely.
too, so you're not going to have to worry about replacing them every so often. So.
Especially when you're dealing with areas like the gymnasium and cafeteria where we have to rent a lift, bring someone in as a contractor to raise and lower, constantly changing those bulbs. That's a savings there for the district too.
Now you're also going to be updating some of the boilers and some of the heating and cooling areas?
Yeah, the boilers would be replaced as part of the bond. They are nearing their life expectancy, and the boilers that are produced nowadays are much more energy efficient, more high efficiency. We talked about the asbestos abatement in all the buildings. Many of our buildings were built when they wrapped pipes with asbestos, and the flooring tile was asbestos, and the glue so all of that has to be removed in the renovation. So the bond would help pay for that renovation because it's a costly process to abate a building and remove the asbestos. Talked about the HVAC system. In the last bond, we replaced all the classroom units. This bond really deals with all the what we call the rooftop units, which would be for the media centers, offices, cafeterias, gymnasium, and we would be replacing those units with not only a heating unit but also an air conditioning unit for those areas. So we begin the process of air conditioning the buildings. So.
Okay, so why don't we move over to the middle school?
Absolutely.
So with what are some of the differences? Because it seems like across the board you're making a lot of the same changes to all the schools. So why don't you talk about some of the differences?
The big difference at the middle school, there's really two. One is security.
Yep.
The middle school is the only building that we do not have a secure vestibule, that when visitors come into our building, it forces them into the office to check in and to make sure. Though we've installed cameras and we've done the buzzer system and the staff are doing a remarkable job, there is a void in the security system. So we would relocate the office and force on the main entrance you into an office area. And so that's probably the biggest, one of the largest costs in the renovation of the middle school. The other, middle school is a large square foot building, and so in that we would be where the office currently is and where the media center is. We would rework the media center to create approximately about 6 additional classroom spaces, which would then allow for that future growth. As you're coming up through the elementary school, we now have the instructional spaces. There's some renovations with the art room. You know, our art program is probably one of the best in the county, especially for the size district that we have. So renovating the art room at the middle school and the weight room for not only our instructional programs but also our athletic program. Expansion of the parking lot. There's another additional parking lot on the front parking lot at the middle school. It would pretty much be almost doubled in size to allow for the additional student growth and population of the middle school. It also helps the other groups that use our facilities, such as TAFL, RGFA. They host many events in our district, and they bring many people to our community. And so we need spots for them also to park too.
Yeah, and I noticed that every time every fall there's the football program.
Absolutely.
Just the whole parking lot explodes. And the people are even parking in the roundabout.
They're in the roundabout, on the grass. They're parking wherever a car can get. And, and long term, that's not good for our grounds and so forth. So we're trying to accommodate that. I talked at the elementary school. The flooring would be replaced, the ceiling. If you walk around the middle school, half of the roof at the middle school is well beyond its life expectancy. The other half was replaced in the 2013 bond. The part, if you hear, from the gymnasium to about the office area, that part of the middle, that was replaced in the last bond. So that roof is good. It's the back end where most of the classrooms are. It's all the instructional and media center.
Okay. And you guys are also going to be replacing the lockers in the girls' locker room?
Yeah, the lockers, they are the original lockers from 1972. You can only imagine the wear and tear those lockers get from not only our instructional program, gym class, et cetera, but also athletic teams. They're dented, they're beyond, it's more costly to repair them just to replace them. So we want to take them out, replace the lockers. We're going to do some slight renovations in the shower areas. The showers were originally designed when the building back in the 70s. We don't utilize them as we were when the building was built in the 70s. So we're going to reduce some of the shower areas and create some storage areas, which is needed in that area.
Right. All right. Is there anything else you want to add about the middle school before we move forward?
The middle school, and actually in all 3 buildings, we would be adding a backup generator.
Oh, yeah.
We've been fortunate that we qualified for a federal grant to allow for summer feeding programs. And our buildings, like homeowners throughout, when you have a storm that comes through, sometimes we lose power. Well, when you have thousands of dollars worth of food in those freezers and fridges, and you lose power, there's another loss. And oftentimes the loss isn't enough to meet our deductible on the insurance. So that's a cost the district has to absorb. So we would be putting these backup generators in place to support not only the freezers and coolers, but also key technology infrastructure such as our network switches, et cetera, so that we can continue to operate, particularly with our emergency systems and door systems.
Okay, and so with the high school, you're gonna, I hear you're gonna be constructing a new auxiliary gym?
Absolutely. Looking at space for not only our instructional programs, such as our dance and our PE programs and our strength and conditioning, those particular programs, we find little niches in the building. Like, for instance, our dance uses the mini gym, which has wrestling mats in it. It's got the batting cages for baseball, etc. There's a lot of downtime moving things around and so forth. Our state championship cheerleaders, they're practicing in the cafeteria, so we roll up the mats, bring out the lunch tables, and flip-flop them every night. But we would add a gymnasium. It's a regulation-sized court. Wouldn't have as many bleachers. There'd be what we're envisioning is one side of the room would have bleachers, 6 to 10 tall or height-wise. This then could be used not only for our instructional gym classes, PE, dance, our athletic program, but then it also allows us to host tournaments and host, which we have done with wrestling and some basketball, but we can host robotics tournaments now. We don't currently have the facilities to host that, and I know our robotics program, which is growing leaps and bounds, is looking forward to being able to host a tournament.
Yep.
That's good for the community, because when you're talking thousands of people come to one of these tournaments, that's business for our restaurants, our businesses in the area. It brings people to Richmond to spend money and to invest in our city, which is critical for a successful community.
Of course. So are you going to expand any of the parking lots?
The high school parking lot behind the auditorium, that parking lot would double in size.
Okay.
When the auditorium was designed and built in the mid-90s, the closest parking lot really for many of the people to use is the student parking lot, which is it's somewhat of a walk.
Yep.
This allows us to be able to put a walkway then along the side of the building, have people come in the lobby, but it brings the parking lot closer. Our community choir, they put on phenomenal Christmas concerts and holiday concerts, and our spring concert. It adds parking for that particular group. The various dance studios that have rented our facilities to use it, it allows parking for them, and not only for our own programs. If you go to an elementary talent show there, or a choir concert or a band concert, there's always parking concerns. So that also increases the parking lot. At the high school, the other main component is the roofs. The auditorium area, the lobby, the band room, that whole section of the building, the current gymnasium, cafeteria, those were roofs that were put on in the 1996 bond. Again, they're beyond their life expectancy. The other roofs were replaced in the 2013 bond, especially the new addition for the science wing, and then the main hallways, etc. So this would replace probably about a third to almost a half of the roofs at the high school.
Okay. And then all the roofs that you haven't touched on, because they've been done recently, you're not going to have to touch them for another 15, 20 years.
What we're looking at. From the other aspect in this bond is all the other ancillary facilities, parking lots. Not only the additional, but all the current existing parking lots would be repaved when we did the addition. If you drive around the roads on our district, you'll see a lot of cracks and the heaving from the thawing and freezing.
Michigan.
It's one of the benefits we have with living in Michigan. So pretty much every single road parking lot would be replaced in the cycle of the bond.
So I hear that the robotics room might be getting an update. And
part of the renovation, we're one of only 86 schools in the state of Michigan that has a K-12 robotics program. In fact, this year we actually have 2 middle school teams because we have so many students who want to be part of the robotics experience. So in the bond renovation, where the Chamber of Commerce used to use part of our building, that front hallway, we would renovate that back end of it, or those classrooms, to be a K-12 robotics wing, facility, academy, however you want to call it. We would be the first in the state of Michigan that would have a K-12 under one, a facility directly and supporting K-12 robotics. And I believe that would help our students get that leg up in their accomplishments and their competitions.
No, I can speak to experience, saying that, teaching really does sharpen your skills, just because you have to go over the material over and over again. This would be a huge benefit to just having, for our high school team, being able to mentor and teach and realize, they might go back and go, this isn't how you're supposed to do it. I go back and do mine and fix theirs.
And a lot of times our kids lose out on the practice from the perspective of they have to spend time setting up, they have their practice and they build their robots or they set their field, and they got to take it down because something else is being used in that facility, whether it's cheerleading, whether it's lunch programs, etc. So this provides a space that then allows additional time. And you're absolutely right, that mentoring, putting the high school students with our elementary kids, mentoring them and showing them the math, science, and the technology aspects and the benefits of this really have a lot of pluses for the district.
Exactly. So let's talk about a little bit more about the outdoors. You're going to have some huge renovations to Ben Bolt Stadium and all the other athletic facilities.
There is an investment in improving the athletic facilities in the district. The last time the athletic facilities were really had a major investment from the school's perspective was in that '96 bond. We did do the track in the 2013, which was well overdue. I mean, we couldn't even run any meets on there because of the condition of the track. And the TIFA had also funded the concession stand early on, but we really have not in 25 years invested in our facilities from a school perspective in the athletic facility. We've had parent groups raise money and they've made improvements and so forth, but this would be investment. So starting off in the baseball and softball fields, renovating, adding dugouts, and improving the fencing on the fields. If you walk around any of the fields, you'll see just with the heaving of the fences out of the ground from the freezing and thawing, fences are bent, angled, and so forth. We've pulled them and we straightened them out, but it's now at a point where they've got to be replaced and the poles got to be put in the ground. The major investment is looking at the athletic field, which is where the football and soccer teams play. We would be removing the turf, the grass turf that's there, and putting a synthetic turf down. There's a lot of benefits from this. Typically, you can find research that shows both ways.
Right.
Any of the research that has supported grass fields has been tied to having a full-time grounds crew and being able to maintain those fields. We don't have that as a public school and as a high school. So you get divots, you get holes in the ground, you get the freezing and thawing, and you're constantly trying to level it out. And it creates more risk for injuries for our athletics. Rolling their ankles if they hit the ground right. This smooths it out, it levels it. What it also allows us is for constant usage of the field. Oftentimes in the spring you got soggy weather, the snow's melting, it's not draining in the ground because the ground's still frozen. This eliminates that and allows the water to drain off into sewage or catch basins, and then the fields can be used really in all types of weather. So we are very excited about that. That would be a major investment in our athletics that hasn't been done in years. Richmond would be the first in the BWAC to have synthetic turf. That is a selling point for a lot of students that choose Richmond and families that choose to move into Richmond Community Schools. They may be very strong in athletics and they want a program that has or a school district that's invested in their athletics. But I don't want to lose sight that the majority of the bond is for instruction. When you look at the total dollar values that we're asking the voters to approve, which is $38.71 million, 10% of that is for the turf, the gymnasium, locker room improvements, the baseball and softball dugouts. That's a very small piece of the pie when you look at the big scope. 90% of it is for the instructional program and the facilities that host those instructional programs.
Well, yeah, you have to be able to maintain all the athletic facilities on top of everything else, and having it that small of a chunk out of the whole big picture. Not only that, having the synthetic turf is going to help you with maintenance.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have someone cut it. You're not going to have someone need to have it painted all the time.
Cutting, striping, painting, the watering of the grass eliminates the irrigation systems and so forth. And again, it allows for the field to be used for multiple purposes. Right now our teams do not practice on that field because they don't want the wear and tear on it. They go off and they practice behind the high school or in the back of the middle school. This allows them to practice on that field because we're maintaining really two fields right now, a practice field and the main field. So there's a lot of improvements, a lot of investment. It's taking the district to the next level. We've made strides in academics. We've been recognized by Bridge Magazine as one of the best schools in terms of improvement scores. Our SAT scores with this current senior class are 20, 30, and sometimes 40 points above state, national, and county averages. We've got a national merit semifinalist. We have a lot of great things coming. I think this is the community's a call to invest in our students even more, and say they have the confidence that we're going to continue growing and investing, which ultimately helps all of us in the community.
Of course. So why don't we talk about, you mentioned the bond total. Could we talk about that again really
Absolutely.
quick?
The bond is, it's a $38.71 million bond. It's designed, it is a millage increase for the community. We're asking the community to increase their millage rate 1.45 over what we're currently paying. We designed and structured the bond so that it's sold in 3 series. The first set of bonds, if approved in November, would be sold around January, February timeframe. It would net us about $24 million. And that's where a lot of the first major improvements would happen, such as beginning the additional additions on the elementary school, because we're going to need that space soon.
Yeah.
The next series is about $18 million, and then there's about a $1 million series at the last part of it. So it's designed to basically every 18 months we sell another series to reduce the overall interest rate that our taxpayers would be paying. We structured it to minimize, in order to get that $38.7 million, we wanted to minimize the millage rate increase. And by doing it this way, that's where we could minimize it to be a 1.45 increase.
Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to add? I know we've covered a lot on this program.
There's a lot of questions that have been asking, and our goal as a school district is we're open. We want to show you where we're budgeting the dollars, what we're planning, detailed lists. I encourage voters to go to the website. There is a link called 2019 Bond Proposal. When you click on it, you will see detailed lists from every building, what would be included in the bond. You will see a tax calculator that you can click on, enter your income level, your property value, the taxable value of your property, what city you live in, et cetera, and it will actually calculate for you what the impact of this bond would be for you specifically. On average, it's a $145 increase for the community, on average. More people are below that than above it.
Right.
So I really encourage, especially senior citizens who are on a fixed income and maybe their house is paid off and they're very limited. What I've been working with, when I've showed them many seniors, they're actually paying very little in the bond based on their personal situation. So I really would encourage people to go and use that tax calculator. The last item, you can actually find on the website the actual document that we submitted to Treasury. It shows the enrollment projections, it shows how we're financing the bond, the assumptions we've made based on what interest rate we're assuming, et cetera. It gives the detailed cost so you can see what are we budgeting for that gymnasium, what are we budgeting for this addition, these 4 classroom addition or this 2 classroom addition. And it's all industry standards, what's best practices is shown. And so it outlines everything for the community. So I really would encourage people to go on that website. There's a question and answer document there. As people have been asking questions, we've been answering them, putting them up on the website, getting back to them to make sure that they have the information to make an educated decision.
I want to go back to one thing that I remember when I go into the school, I see all these orange stickers around.
Absolutely. What we did was we tried to, because this bond it's a large bond, and it's going to touch every aspect, every classroom, every hallway in our district. We wanted to make sure visually people could see what it entails. So we've placed these orange stickers on various items, on clocks, on ceiling tiles, on floors, everything that the bond is going to touch and repair, replace, or improve, we've put it out there. So when you walk into the buildings, you get a quick visual. There's a lot that this bond is going to do. And so that's part of it, is we want to give the perspective, because when you start talking numbers like this or you look at lists, sometimes people can't make the connection of the direct connection.
Right.
So, I really encourage you. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up in 2 weeks. Stop in, look around, ask any staff member. They'll be able to point out the details of the bond and how the bond will affect them should the voters pass it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian, for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
All right. So The election for the school bond proposal will be on November 5th. With the current change in state election laws, the last day to apply and receive an absentee ballot by mail is 5 o'clock on the Friday preceding the election. Absent voter ballots can be picked up in the voter in person to 4 p.m. until 4 p.m. on the day prior to the election. A voter who visits the city clerk's office on the day prior to the election will obtain an absent voter ballot, but the ballot must be voted in the office. You are not permitted to leave until you finish your ballot. City clerk's office maintains a list of voters who are interested in receiving an absent voter ballot application prior to the election. There are no requirements to be on the list. So you can then you can go to richmond.k12.mi.us to go look at the information on the bond. You'll see a link there, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have a link to everything in the description below. Don't forget to check out Richmond TV on Comcast Channel 6 and on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Richmond TV 12, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you're notified of all the videos that are coming out from Richmond TV. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you later.